Hello friendos and randos, welcome back to part 2 of our One Piece card game OP03 matchup spread video. Thank you all for your support on part 1. It's only been a couple days but it's over 100 views already and I'm so grateful to all of you who've watched it. Today we're continuing where we left off and finishing all of the remaining leaders from Law to Yamato. Once again, feel free to comment if you have any questions about any of my opinions, and here we go. Okay, so I think Film Kit and by extension Film Dolphy and OP04 is actually one of the better matchups for Law. While Film Kit is able to build a whiteboard, the Law is able to continually get advantage by continuously searching, just like the Film Kit. So you won't be able to get outvalued like the other decks that Film Kit is advantageous to. So Film Kit has these advantages against the other decks because of that whiteboard as well as the multiple searches. But Law does the same thing but better basically. So that's why I think the matchup for Law into Film Kit is actually still fairly positive. Now into Kinemon, I think it is fairly skill dependent as well as dice roll dependent. If the Kinemon goes second and drops Okiku, it is a bit of a uphill battle. But I do still think at the end of the day it is a fairly positive matchup for Law. They are able to continuously burn your hand as well by hitting into your board, reducing your hand size, and then later swinging big. Even the Oden will be a bit tough to protect. Okay, next is the Doflamingo. I think it's also a very positive matchup for the Law. Similarly, one of Doflamingo's worst matchups is the Zoro because of that whiteboard continuously chasing your units and forcing you to burn hand cards, and Law does that pretty well as well. That is one of the reasons that I think that matchup is so difficult for the Doflamingo. So yeah, 60-40 for Law. Nami for Law I think is even easier, especially if you are like me and you do tech that 2-cost Sanji, the one that allows you to take life because the Nami isn't usually swinging at you, and being able to take your own life means that you will be able to still build your hand. So I think this matchup is probably one of the easiest for Law in this meta, 70-30 for sure. So for all three of these, because of the nature of the decks being slow, I think it's the same spread as Zoro, 60-40 for all of them. Very good matchup spread for Law into all three. Lucci is slightly stronger because of the fact that Kaku does hit your searches and stuff, and if he does go second, place that Kaku or the Air Lord into Kaku on curve, it does make it a bit difficult. Plus the Bluno being able to replay the Kumadoris, for example, or the Fukuros, does make it also not as valuable when you're able to remove their units. But I think overall this side of the matchup is all very good for Law. Now the yellow decks for Law, I think for me what I feel about these matchups is just like that. I think they're all very positive matchups for Law. It is very tough for all of the yellow decks to deal with Law. I want to give Black Yellow Mom a little bit of a worse matchup for Law than the other three, so I'm going to give like that, I think. But if you look at the spread here, it is very good for Law in general. So you can see the entire right side of the matchup table, right? It's all green for Law. It's very positive, but these matchup spreads being not so great really holds it back, I think. And of course the difficulty of the leader. All of these factors lead it such that I don't think Law can be like S+ tier in OP03, especially because of how hard it is to play, and as well as the popularity of the big three now, the Ace Whitebeard and Zoro. So we're gonna give it a regular S. But this matchup spread is very good. Like, it's really very good. And if you're good enough and you tag your deck to fight the Whitebeard and the Aces well, then you should be able to win many games as a Law player. Okay, Film Kit, let's see, we are at 45, 50, 60-40, 55, and then 40-60. Okay, so Film Kit, yes, as you can see, very positive matchups into the big three reds. So that's why you can see being positive. Maybe even the Zoro might even be a little bit positive as well. But I could be coping. But yeah, very positive matchups into all of the three big red leaders, which is why it was really picked as an anti-meta pick. And then not such a great matchup into Law. But all this matchup spread is still very good for Kid, I think. Okay, next is Kinemon. I think Kid into Kinemon will have the same issue as when fighting Law, which is the board is too wide for you to clear everything efficiently. So I think it is still a slight favorable matchup for the Kid here. Okay, next is Doflamingo. So Film Kid may actually have a bit of a tougher time against Doflamingo because of the lack of 8-cost Kid, which is one of the biggest issues that Doflamingo does face, which is that 8-cost Kid, of course, the wall being the wall that you cannot remove. But if it's just Film Kid, Doflamingo does actually have answers for your board every step of the way. He does have Jinbei, he does have the 3000 Worlds to remove the Brooks or the Namis, and then he does have Jinbei, he does have Sogeking or the 7-cost Doflamingo, and then he also has Mihawk to remove the Luffy. So I think this matchup is fairly even. I think it's similar to the Ace matchup in that you win, I think, if you draw like multiple Brook Nami combos and then just outvalue him by flooding the board wider than he can deal with. But other than that, it's probably winnable on either end. Film Kit into Nami, I think it should be slightly favorable towards the Film Kit because again with the whiteboard, it is tougher for Nami to deal with cascading units. So just like Law, I don't think it's as skewed as Law because you do still have to play a lot of Dawn to play all your units, whereas Law kind of just floods the board for almost free. And yeah, I think it's slightly favored to the Film Kit, but not super favored. Okay, Magellan I think is also slightly favored to the Kid. The main reason being the flooding board makes it tough for Magellan to deal with. Even if Magellan delays your 7-cost Luffy, for example, it is only delayed by 1 turn, and you still are able to play another Brook Nami combo, for example, or you're able to play a Vanilla Frankie, and it's really tough for the Magellan to deal with so many units on the board at once. So I'm gonna say it's about 55, maybe 60-40. Okay, Smoker and Lucci. So I think these matchups are actually kind of a little tougher for the Film Kit. So the main reason for this is that the whiteboard is still easy enough to remove if the Smoker does run Kobe, if the Lucci does run Kaku or Sakazuki, vice versa, then they are able to deal with your Nami and remove that search, that consecutive search, that repeatable search very easily. I think it's about even for Smoker, and I think it's actually slightly favored for the Lucci, especially if they're able to Kaku your Nami on curve. Okay, Black, Yellow, Mum. I think Kids matchups into green are actually not super favorable either. So the main reason for this is because I think the yellow just kind of out stalls you, and they're able to deal with the aggression enough, especially if they get good triggers. They're able to kind of just stall out the game and wait for you to lose to yourself. So I think it would be about 45. I think it will be about the same as the Red Luffy matchups here. Kinemon, let's just copy the other stuff first, and then 55-45 into Luffy. Okay, Kinemon into Doffy. So I think this is dependent on if they do play the 8-cost Kid or not. If they do, then it's instantly like 60-40 for the Kinemon. But even still, I think being able to rest the units rest the blockers that Doffy tries to hide behind, like the 1-cost Law as well as the 3-cost Doflamingo, and then from there be able to chase the board or to clear the board very easily, it does make the green's life still a lot easier. Other than that, because your 8-cost Oden isn't removable at all by Doffy in general, it makes it quite difficult for the Doflamingo to handle the double 8k swing every turn, and he will eventually lose out on the board. Even if he does drop the Mihawk, once the Mihawk is rested, when your Oden swings into the Mihawk, it's very tough for them to defend it. So I want to say it's slightly favored towards the Kinemon. Nami, I think Nami is actually probably positive in the Kinemon because of again, Kinemon being a bit too slow, doesn't really play more than 1 unit per turn. Kind of just sits there, and tries to swing, do their best. I want to say about same as Luffy, 50-50, if not same as the Ace. Maybe we'll do same as Ace here. I think 40-60 sounds about right. Magellan. Okay, Magellan is actually fairly strong into Kinemon, denying the Oden early as well as to removing that 4-cost Yamato, the pesky 4-cost Yamato with 6-cost King is very strong. Tough to say whether it's favored or not, because back in the day when Kaido was played, he was played as a Kinemon killer. Back in the day, meaning in OP03, sorry. It's not that long ago, but yeah. I do think Magellan actually does have a slightly positive matchup here into the Kinemon. I want to say maybe 45-55, very slight favor for the Magellan. Then for the black decks, I think they are both very strong into Kinemon. I want to say it's the same spread as it's the reverse of the law spread here. So 45-55 and then 40-60 against the Lucci. I think Lucci is a bit worse because of the add-off value. Even if you rest the units that Lucci plays, all of them are 6k power, so it's kind of like the Whitebeard issue where even if you rest the units, you still need to invest Dawn in order to put pressure on them. So that is my opinion. Next is black, yellow, mum, and then the other yellow leaders. So I want to say this is slightly negative for the Kinemon as well, unless you do play the SEC Yamato version. So the SEC Yamato version is pretty strong into yellow because of that banish threat, and because yellow doesn't really have a form of removal other than Thunderbolt to get rid of it. So if you are able to drop the SEC Yamato and put a lot of pressure on the yellow player, force them to use their 8-cost Karakuri on it, and then your Oden gets to roam free, it can be positive for you, but I do think it is still slightly on the negative end. So I want to put 45-55 across the board. I realized I didn't rate Kid. I want to put A+ for Kid and then A regular for Kinemon. So Kinemon doesn't really have a very good matchup spread, as you can see here. Like it's mostly red, and then even the greens aren't very in the green. Even though the greens are against Zoro, which is one of the most popular decks, I think just because he doesn't have enough green circles here, it might even be maybe like B maximum. We're getting to the point where the rest of it, where the rest of the matchups are easy enough to just copy and paste from the first half of the list, so that's nice. So we only need to cover like 8 leaders now per matchup. Okay, Doflamingo matchup spread, right? Nami. Nami actually I think would be about even to maybe slightly favored for the Doflamingo. Main reason because he does have very efficient ways to remove the Zeph in Sunset Sekai 3000 volts, as well as the Mihawk. So all of these big bodies also are pretty tough for the Nami to deal with, along with 7k swing plus building a board. All of these factors I think slightly favored towards the Flamingo, maybe 55-45. Alright, Magellan. Magellan, actually fairly good matchup for Doflamingo. He does have 3000 balls to get rid of the Magellan, so it does get around the on KO ramp. On KO D ramp. And then other than that, Queen is also in 3000 balls range, as well as Mihawk is able to remove his 6-cost King. All of these things make it such that blue is actually fairly favored into this. The 9-cost Kaido also isn't really able to get rid of the Mihawk on the crackback. It's only 2k counter. Even if you drop it on 10 dot, it's only 3k counter. Fairly easy to meet that expectation. I would say slightly favored towards the Doflamingo. Black. Also, I think both black decks also slightly favored for the Doflamingo. Fairly easy to remove their units with 3000 balls as well as Mihawk on curve. All of these things make as well as the 7k swings are fairly difficult for black to deal with. I think all of these make it slightly favored to Doflamingo. And then I think yellow in general is about 45-55 for everything. Maybe 50-50 with Yamato, because I think again, the main issue with the yellow decks is that blue doesn't have an answer to 10-cost Big Mom. And that makes it very tough. And then because Yamato doesn't have 10-cost Big Mom, the maximum they can play is 8-cost Karakuri and the 7-cost Big Mom. The Mihawk does get rid of that 7-cost Big Mom very efficiently. So that does make it a slightly better matchup for the Doflamingo, but everything else I think will be slightly unfavored. Doflamingo overall, actually very good matchup spread. If you look at it, 60-40 into two of the biggest red decks, and then just poor matchups into Zoro, Law, and Kinemon, as well as the yellow side of things. everything else is still very, very good. I think he's a very solid tier, solid pick. I think he can fit into A very easily. Nami! Okay. Let's. So nothing much to add for the rest of these. I think we've covered it pretty much already. Magellan. I think it depends on the Nami build, but Magellan has the capability to play white as well with Sadi-chan as well as reducing the amount of Dawn isn't very useful for Magellan. So for Magellan into Nami, so I think it's even possible to go just play the Magellan now as a vanilla. But in general, I think it is. I have no strong opinion on this matchup. I think I haven't really seen it play out either. I'm gonna leave it as 50-50 for now. Black decks. I think black decks are very favorable for Nami in general. She does, because of the fact that she again, the black decks are very slow, so it comes with the same issue as Kinemon and Ace. They only play 1 unit per turn. They're unable to swing very wide at you, so you're gonna have an easier time. Okay, so yeah, I think black favorable for Nami still. I want to say 60-40 for Nami actually. So looking at black's matchup spread, it doesn't look too good over here. Because their matchup spread is not gonna be good into yellow either. So playing black really feels like it's only good into like literally just Whitebeard. Yellow leaders for Nami. Yellow I think is also a very positive matchup for Nami. I want to say probably 60-40 across the board as well. Even higher for Yamato. I want to say 65 for Yamato. Because no 10 cost Big Mom again. I will add that if you do have... I actually want to say the Mono Mom matchup is easier for Mono Mom. Okay, so the rationale behind this is similarly to the black leaders, they only play 1 unit on the board per turn. So you're either able to bounce it, or they're only going to swing for 5k, which is very little. The main issue is when the 10 cost Big Mom comes into play. So I think that will make things actually rather tough for Nami when you keep banishing their life. So I'm going to actually drop that to 55-45 for both of these leaders. And then the reason I'm putting Mono Mom as a slightly better matchup for Mono Mom is because when Mono Mom does swing 7k at you, she can always take the life even if she doesn't replace. And the main thing that Nami does is that she doesn't swing at your face, so you won't be able to gain hand cards because of that. I want to say this is probably why Mono Mom has a better matchup spread in general. Because of the fact that she can rig life, and in Nami's specific case is because she can choose to take the life and then add to her hand cards instead. So yeah, overall Nami's matchup spread actually fairly decent, very good into all of the anti-meta decks. So good into both the black decks as well as some of the yellow decks. I want to say B tier. Okay, Magellan. Okay, let's see, 45-55, 40-60, 60-40, 45-55, 50-50, 40-60, 40, sorry, that's not, okay. 40-60, 45-55, 55-45, and then 50-50, 50-50. Wait, no, Magellan, Doflamingo, 45-55. Kinemon, 45-55. Magellan, Kinemon 55-45. Film Kit 45-55. Yeah, okay, got it. Yeah, that's correct. Okay, Magellan into Smoker and Lucci. I actually think this is slightly advantageous for the Magellan. Being able to deramp both of these decks are pretty significant, denying them from getting their issues or their cooldowns on the board, and also having a unit that they don't want to kill, and being able to continuously swing 6k minimum with it is very, very strong. I want to say Lucci is slightly less affected by this because he is not so reliant on the 10 cost units or the Isho. So I want to say slightly favorable into Smoker and about 50-50 into Lucci. Lucci also is able to dodge all of Magellan's removal because at maximum he has 4 cost king, right? Sorry, 6 cost king, which kills 4 cost. And so if you do play only like Brunos and Kakus and stuff like that, it is pretty much that 6 cost king is now a vanilla basically, which is a very very good thing for the Lucci, of course. Now yellow. So I think Magellan's main kill kill matchups are yellow as well as Whitebeard. So I'm going to put this at 60-40 across the board as well, denying the 10 cost mount from them, as well as having a unit that will swing into you repeatedly without being able to be KO'd or at the cost of a D ramp is very very significant. I've had my Magellan friend where I KO the Magellan, and then after that the Magellan is able to play another Magellan bringing you to Dawn -4. It's very very painful time. But I do think Yamato will have a slightly better time since since Yamato is not so reliant on the 10 cost Big Mom. And then I also think Mono Mom has a bit of a better time because you are able to rig the Thunderbolt into life to KO the Queen as well as Magellan, and then that dodges the Magellan's on KO effect since that happens on your turn. All in all, I think Magellan is a very solid anti-meta pick. He's very strong into yellow as well as Whitebeard, but he does suffer into all of the other red decks over here, so that does make it a bit of a tougher choice to pick. He also loses to Doflamingo. So if your meta is very specifically Whitebeard as well as yellow and only those leaders, I think Magellan is actually a very solid pick. I want to say top of B or maybe even bottom of A. Okay, smoker time. 45, 40-60, 60-40, 40-60, 40-60, 40-60, 50-50, 55-45, 45-55, 40-60, 45-55, and 50-50. Yep, okay. So, Smoker into Lucci. I think Smoker into Lucci is actually an interesting matchup. The main positive for Smoker is that everything Lucci plays is generally 5 cost or lower, so Sakazuki will be able to KO that. I think against Lucci as well, because there's not many 3 cost units, Lucci does have to spend like Tsuru, or even if they have the stage, maybe they have the stage, and only then can they remove like the 4 cost Kuzan or the Garp if you're running Garp. Another thing is that Garp is very good in Smoker against Lucci because that Guard plus leader effect is able to hit almost everything they have, and that makes things very tough, I think, for the Lucci to deal with. On the other hand, Lucci does have a bit more aggro potential because of Air Door, as well as a lot of 6k units, like the Kaku, Bruno, and Kumadori are all 6k, which does make it more aggro in terms of when it's fighting Lucci. I want to say it's probably 50-50, if not slightly favored to the Smoker. But I could be wrong on this personally. I do feel like it's slightly Smoker favored. Okay, yellow. So I'm going to go on I'm just going to put it right out there, 40-60 across the board, except for Yamato, which is I think 45-55. So the main issue with yellow is just black is a slow deck, and yellow is the slowest of all slow decks. And basically that just means if you are not fast enough to rush them down or hit them with big enough things that they run out of cards, you just straight up lose to yellow. So you can see yellow's matchup spread is actually, like, you can see here there's a lot of red here, which means green for yellow. So yellow's matchup spread is actually very good as well. But they do lose to a few things very very hard, and that's a big no as well. And the few things they do lose hard to are very popular decks as well. Okay, so yeah, I think again Smoker and Lucci, similar matchup spread against the yellow decks, are just fairly bad. Especially against Black Yellow Mum, I think might even be worse because they don't, for example, they have blockers that you can't KO as well, so they run the Borsalino as well as the Fukuro, which makes it even harder for you to try and find lethal. So it might even be like 35 here for the Black Yellow Mum matchup. And I think it's the exact same for Lucci also. Okay, so we're gonna copy over the matchup spread real quick. So if you look at the matchup spread, black is not doing too hot. You look at the matchup spread, I think there are some matchups where Smoker performs better and some matchups where Lucci performs better, but in general, I think black as a color is struggling a little bit because they do struggle into both red and yellow, with the exception of Whitebeard, I think. But again, because Whitebeard is such a prominent deck, it is easy for you to try and choose to play black anyway. And if you tag to some of these poorer matchups, it does make it a little easier in general, without making your Whitebeard matchup suffer. I do think they both belong in about A tier. I want to say that Black Luffy would also be the same as Smoker in this list, with maybe a slightly better matchup into the Red Zoro. Okay, yep, that is the black units, black leaders. And now we will talk about the yellow leaders, which are all already covered mostly, with the exception of the yellow mirrors. So let's quickly set that up. There we go. So yellow mirrors, I think in general, the yellow mirrors is just whoever goes second wins. And specifically whoever goes second and drops more of the 10 cost Big Mom wins. But I think for Black Yellow Mom, being able to, for some of them that run the Sakazuki, being able to remove the earlier units and have that 7k body on board is very significant, especially before you get the 5 cost vanilla from the starter deck. Plus having the additional blockers makes it a bit difficult for yellow to break through. Yellow specifically is not very good with dealing with blockers. So what I will say is I think that the matchup for Black Yellow Mom into the yellows is all probably 50-50. So I want to say it looks something like this, and mayhaps even 55-45 into them, but it's a bit tough of a call. So Black Mom actually has a very good matchup spread if you look at it like from far. 50-50 into all of the other yellow decks, basically based on luck. And then after that, also pretty good matchup spread into most of the anti-meta decks. 55-45 into Ace as well as Teach Zoro is pretty good. And then also doing well into Doflamingo and the 2 green anti-metas. And of course still doing well into black. Karakuri. Let's see, we're going to do all of the, we're just going to discuss the yellow mirrors now, I think. And honestly, I think like I said, Karakuri into Big Mom, I feel like it's slightly favored to the Big Mom, and the main reason for this is because even if the Karakuri rearranges your life, it's still there. The best they can do is banish it. But for example, if it's the last life, you have 1 life left, they can't really do anything about the trigger being there. Whereas for the Karakuri mirror, if you're looking at each other's life and you shift it up and down, like that's pretty much the only counterplay, right? You just shift the life up and down. If you see a trigger, you move it to the bottom, etc, etc. But I think with Big Mom, just by putting the trigger there, it puts pressure on the Karakuri to look at your life and not look at their own life, which is also a very good it's a good trade-off because you get to do your thing, but they can't do their thing, which is to look at their life and get information. Okay, so I want to say 50-50 across the board still. Probably slight advantage into the Yamato because of the fact that Yamato doesn't have the 10 cost Big Mom. So I'm going to put it like that basically. And then that basically finishes up our spreadsheet. So let me go and tidy it up. Yeah, we did it. I want to say these are all A tier as well. Okay, very good. We did it, guys. And there you have it. We have the final matchup spread chart for all of the OP03 leaders in the meta. Thank you guys again for all of your support and for watching this far. If you've made it up to this point, make sure to drop a like and a sub, and also to follow me on Twitter and Twitch so that you can keep up to date with the rest of my content. Once again, thank you friendos and randos, and see you next time. Bye bye.